Greetings and welcome to Perspectives with Evelyn and Kevin.
Hey friends,
So, how's your day going?
it is going good. I had a couple of technical difficulties that we had to, bang out before we started, but yeah, everything's good.
Well, as we get better and better at this, the technical things seem to get. It's like COVID. It gives you a deviant, and so
Yeah,
you think you got it working, and all of a sudden it
yes,
gives you something different.
yes,
Yeah,
I stay with different technology strains. Yes,
absolutely. But it's good to see you, and
likewise,
to
likewise, likewise.
we've got a lot of stuff going on since our last show,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's been a very interesting week, couple of weeks,
Hmm.
I guess, in world issues from COVID to the Olympics,
Hmm.
and what we're going to talk about today is the 2021 Olympiad and all of the goings on prior to getting to Tokyo,
Well, yeah,
and after arriving in Tokyo.
Wowzers. Yes,
Um,
it's
so
it's been a I don't even know how
yes,
to
that.
yeah, because it's because the only thing that I can
So from
attribute it to is something like an attack, and it's been an attack on the black female athletes, and
Relentless.
now yeah, now normally you expect these attacks on the black male athletes, but it's been an attack on the black female athletes, and mainly because they've been performing better than expected.
Stellar.
Yes, better than
Absolutely stellar.
yeah. They've been setting records and shattering records and
Raising
just
the bar considerably.
considerably and just outdoing everyone else. We didn't have a video prior to, did we? That we needed to go into.
They're rolling, and they're kind of going to roll behind us
Okay.
as we talk. The what I wanted people to see was how the women are so engaged in almost every aspect of the Olympic Games,
Mm-hmm.
and this young lady that's on the screen right now,
Ari
um,
Richardson.
Shakari Richardson, uh, incredible athlete,
Mhm.
and she has taken so much heat. And of course, she was suspended, so she didn't get a chance to go to Tokyo.
Right.
Even though she's broken and set world records in terms of the 100-meter dash, just been an incredible athlete. And she had some issues. She had some health things going on, family death, and
Right.
and she smoked some weed. Um, Mike Phelps smoked some weed, but he hit that pool in the Olympics.
He hit that
Uh,
pool. Yeah, he
yes,
didn't
he
miss a beat.
did.
Didn't miss a
Yes, he
beat.
did. Yes, he did. And so she was denied the opportunity. I believe she was denied the opportunity because of who she is, what she looks like, where she comes from.
Right.
Um, that little chocolate skin of hers, and her brilliant, bright personality.
Mm-hmm.
She shines in the camera. And so an example was made. And then following her, another
Several
young
other
lady.
examples. Yes.
Yes. And the harassment of those who are still even competing. Um, the young lady that swims, that they took issue with her swim cap. Now she's got
Right.
locks.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so it's not going to fit under the skinny, blonde
Mm-hmm.
hair, blue eyed swim cap. That's not going to happen.
No.
So they said they thought it would displace more water.
Right. And something about it not being natural to the head or something like that.
Right, because of what? Her locks. She
Right.
can't gel her locks down so that they look like scalp. okay, and put on a swim cap.
Mhm.
Black hair tends to fizz and frizz when it gets wet anyway.
And now the first
And
of
poof,
four for
and poof.
Simone Biles.
Right, exactly. So, and the fact that they don't even take that into consideration when they're making these rules and updating information shows that, first of all, they're not accustomed to having Black women on the swim team.
Right.
That's the first thing.
First thing.
And so that's, I used to take issue in Daytona Beach because there were no Black lifeguards. And in all of the swim teams, there were no, and which is where they were choosing the lifeguards, there were no Black kids swimming, not because they couldn't, but because all of the team trainings were not in our community,
Right.
and they were not made aware of what was needed in order to qualify. Once they started to open up a little bit, they started to get more of the African American children involved in the swimming at an early age, and
Yeah.
now they have one or two Black lifeguards.
Right.
And so you see the same kind of dynamic in certain sports that once we enter the arena, sometimes our physicality is different,
Yeah.
but it's still
Take a
based
young
on a
lady who's
Eurocentric concept.
right, and to take for instance a young lady who's wrestling.
Oh, that's
That
a
girl,
whole nother
she
dynamic.
wow. I mean, her physical stature alone, her natural. Let me go ahead and throw that in. Her
Yes,
natural physical stature alone is sets her apart from everyone else. And then
absolutely.
and then you throw in her natural ability and talent,
She is
and
incredible.
and then
She
that
really
that just
is incredible.
that yeah, and that just shoots her through the stratosphere. Now let's uh the two ladies that we're going to be talking about specifically today
Yes,
uh were banned because of their natural testosterone levels. Now,
yes,
now also let's it's important to point out that all the ladies that we're talking about are cisgendered, not transgendered.
exactly.
Everyone everyone is born a female and lives as a female. There are no transgendered women that we're speaking about today. Everyone is a naturally born female.
And
Now,
identifies as such.
and identifies as such. Now,
Yes,
as far as the two ladies that we're speaking about right now, there was one from Namibia,
yes,
Christine Mboma, and
yes,
Beatrice. I'm gonna mess this name up. Masalingi.
yes. That's
Okay,
close.
yeah, close enough. Yeah. Okay. And now they were banned from running in the Olympic 400-meter dash because they have a naturally high testosterone level,
Yes.
and
Born
the
with it.
on with it. Nothing
Yes.
they can do about it.
No
Pretty much
drugs
just
they're taking,
yeah,
no enhancements, nothing.
pretty much just like the color of their skin. Nothing they can do about it. Okay,
Absolutely.
so, and so the athletics organization and doping agencies have targeted them, and they started with a 30-day suspension uh, for Shakari Richards, just like you said, and hers was only THC.
Right. Yes.
It was only THC. So
Yes.
which isn't illegal or
Well,
which
in the
isn't
state that she lives in, it's not illegal
right.
at
And
all.
even with the I don't think it's illegal with the Olympic Committee. I think there were, as far as THC, I should say.
Right.
I think they're just saying that they're adding things where she's concerned.
Well, they do that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
whatever works best for
they're
them.
taking liberty. Yeah, they're taking
Yes.
liberty. And uh, who was it?
Mike
The
Phelps.
other yeah, the other young lady that we were talking about were with swimming caps. It says
Oh,
You're right. The water sports world governing body was banning swimming caps designed for afro hair at international competitions,
Yes,
including the upcoming Tokyo 2020 Olympics. It says they deemed the caps were unsuitable as they don't follow the natural form of the head.
absolutely.
Now,
And
now,
then they
now,
said that they feel that it displaces more water
right. So,
because
so, so that's
I'm
that's
like, well,
that's
her head isn't going to go away just because
right.
she puts on a different cap,
Her head is her head.
right?
So there's nothing she can do about that. So and also with each lady, when they would appeal, they were rejected. So
Absolutely.
none of them could appeal. None of them could make any other um, uh, recommendations. But they just said no, you can't do this, and that's it.
And keep in mind, Michael Phelps, and even he said that he feels it's totally unjustified uh, for what they've done to Shikari because his incidents were prior to the Olympics,
Hmm.
yet his suspension didn't come until after
Right,
he was
right.
allowed to compete. And so you look at the various things that have occurred. The young lady Gwen Berry, who practiced a peaceful protest because she said, she doesn't feel the Star Spangled Banner speaks for her or to her as an African American.
Which it doesn't.
Um, and not that she doesn't love the country. And she said she never said she didn't love America. She said, it's my home, it's where I am.
Hmm.
And so she just, says, first of all, they told her they were not going to play it. And
Mm.
so she was not prepared and she was looking away. And then the Star Spangled Banner came on and she had been assured that it would not be played while they were on the podium.
Right.
But of course they did it anyway.
Of course.
And she definitely feels like that was a planned procedure, that someone decided to do that
Right.
specifically for that reason.
Right.
Um, and so she got harassed, penalized, talked about, all kinds of things. And these athletes have a ton of stress that
Hmm.
they work under anyway.
Right.
And all the
As do most
politics
Olympians.
that's connected to it
Right.
is insane.
Now, I think it's also important to mention that this is not the first time that the World Athletics Organization has used its definition of womanhood to target a woman. Well, and it's interesting that um, you have what some people would say are it's almost like a blitzkrieg uh,
Yes.
because it seems like they're wiping the board of all black female athletes
From across the country,
from
from
across.
across the world.
Exactly, whether they're from America or Kenya or Namibia, uh, uh, and it's interesting. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull something up here. And there's a South African runner by the name of Caster Semenya.
Yes.
And she has been she was one of the women who also had the naturally high testosterone levels.
Yes.
Now, what she did was to take medications to lower her testosterone levels.
Right.
But
And then they
but the
got her on the medications, right?
right, but not just that, but the side effects were too much because she started having, hang on just a second, she started having stomach pains, fevers, and things of
Because
that
she
nature
was disrupting the natural flow of her body.
of her own body, the natural composition of her own body, and it had negative effects, which if anyone knows anything about anything, you know that you don't disrupt the natural flow of your body because it's going to have a negative effect. And of course,
Absolutely.
these effects couldn't be helped because she's changing the natural flow of her body. But the point is, she made an attempt to do this in
To
order
adjust.
to adjust and to compete. But
Wow.
that still it still wasn't enough because once her testosterone levels came down, she still couldn't compete because she was having so many other side effects
Because now
because
she's ill.
because now she's ill.
Wow.
Mhm.
Well, we look at all of these and it's like taking a look at, police shootings. You think it's one in a bubble, and then all of a
Right.
sudden you discover it's rampant.
Rampant.
And so once you start to take a deep dive, the question arises, you know, racism in 2021 in the Olympiad. And the committees that make these choices are generally made up of older white males
Yes, of course.
who are far removed from the 21st century
Hmm.
and are really not adjusting to the diversity of the Olympiad.
Hmm.
They, even though it's always been a world event, um, Black people are starting to come into their own in various, you know, um, parts of the Olympics where they were not always a part.
Yeah, different
Track and
arenas.
field was great,
Right.
but
Right.
now
Different
we're
arenas where they weren't
fencing,
normally seen.
we are swimming, we're
Yes.
in archery,
Hmm.
we're karate, we're all
Hmm.
of that,
Hmm.
and they are
Wrestling. Hmm.
just not ready,
Right.
just not ready for
Right.
it.
And it's not a surprise to a lot of us, but to some of us it is a surprise. I'm of the mindset to where as of now in 2021 there should be no surprises.
Well,
We understand, yeah, right. We understand, or we should understand how we can and will be treated differently from every other nation uh, in the world. Um, and it all comes down to the amount of melanin in our skin. Um,
that that is very
Now,
true. But one of the things that has to happen is the makeup of the decision makers has to
right,
be more diverse.
right, and
That
there
is the level at which the straightening has to come.
and there should definitely be either a scientist or a doctor on these committees that says, well, listen, these are their natural levels. There's nothing they can do about that.
But see, they are being told that they've had to bring all kinds of documents, present documents from their doctors. They've had documents from the Olympic doctors, and it still gets ignored because the decision makers don't care.
Right.
And so, unless they start to have a more diverse group of people who are
Mhm.
looking at this, and when I say diverse, I mean people of color added to that board. Because when you
Yes.
look at the various boards across the Olympics, even the U.S. Olympics Committee is made up primarily of men, white males.
Right.
And so a lot of these decisions, especially about our athletes that are coming, are there's no diversity connected to it. And so a
True.
full understanding of the dynamics of the people that they're making decisions about doesn't exist.
Right. Right.
And
And
there's no voice to speak on that behalf.
right. And
Right now we're looking at Simone Biles. We were looking at
right.
her just a moment ago. The struggle that she's having, is not a physical one, it's mental.
And emotional, yes.
And what affect and that affects your physical,
Yes, definitely. Directly.
because, she's an incredible world athlete, but the pressure is sometimes completely overwhelming. And
Right.
we have to she's been doing this since she was a kid.
I mean, what you know what she's not that old, so she's almost kind of still a kid. I think what she's like 20 something right
She's in
now.
her 20s, yes.
Right. Yeah. So
She's in her
so
20s.
she's not far removed from being a kid. You know, I think she just got in she like in her early 20s. So, but she's been doing it a long time. So she's a veteran.
Since she was
But
in elementary school.
right,
Well,
she's
prior to that, she was just in elementary school when she started training.
right. So she's a veteran, but she's still young, and and her accomplishments, her achievements
Are
far
phenomenal.
and they far outshine her compatriots. So when things like that happen, there's always um, uh, suspicion with the old white males that we spoke of on the committee because they don't understand how these young ladies and young men, but young ladies specifically that we're speaking about today, are able to perform so well. So they're saying that there has to be some type of disadvantage that they're using. You know, some type of
Well, they
upgrade.
always try to make it that we are not really women.
Right.
Serena Williams, the
And
Williams
Venus, yeah.
sisters, and Venus, they have had to deal with name calling and all kinds of negative things being said about them. And they said their get back was just to go out there and beat them.
Go out there and beat them.
and,
That's it.
and that's what they did,
Right.
but the harshness of the media, the way that the media sometimes describes Black women. If we're emotional, then we're angry Black women.
Right.
There's never that opportunity to just be a woman, to be a
Right.
girl, and to have the same emotions that other girls have, no matter what their color. Black women are viewed and always have been viewed as being, hard, unfeeling, all of that. And we're always angry. Well, sometimes we are angry and for good reason. And sometimes we're just hurting. It because of the stuff you have to deal with
Right.
on top of the regular uh,
Yeah, the
things
regular
that go
stressors.
along with being a world class athlete.
Right.
These women have to deal with all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah, there's added stressors. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. And women across the board, not no matter what their color, within the Olympics have had to deal with a lot of sexism, like making the volleyball team wear bikini bottoms.
Right.
That's
And
in
and
the
and
Olympic
and
requirement.
certain type of bikini bottom, not just bikini bottom,
Yes,
but certain
and have
types.
to be measured a certain everything.
Yes.
I'm just
Come
like, what?
on, wowzers. Because these old white men they want those bikini bottoms to fit a specific way.
Absolutely. Very sexual. Very sexual.
Yes.
And the women hate it. They talk about it. And even with the gymnastics, they were saying they didn't know that they could wear a full catsuit instead
Right.
of having to wear just the leotard.
Just the leotard. Right.
Uh, right. Because no one had told them. And it's all about, being able to expose the female body in a way that is not demanded of men. And it's just because men make the rules.
Right.
And it's been that way, and a lot of that hasn't changed since the Olympics began. So we're dealing with stuff that in the workplace would be totally forbidden, but yet here we are in 2021. Women are still dealing with the same craziness, and Black women are having to just deal with a lot of stupid stuff. So I just don't know. I think that sometimes the more we think we're moving forward, the more backwards we become.
Well, it's like that song or that saying. You take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. So
Yes,
you've really only made one step.
yes,
So and making one step is while it's progress, it's not significant progress.
yes.
And so any time we seem to make significant progress, they push us back a couple steps. And it can be as things simple as the color of her hair, just like her hair was that shiny orange or red or
Yes.
whatever. Now you remember when what's her name? Because she had the fingernails.
Floja?
Look, it was a FloJo. Okay,
Yes.
right. But she had the fingernails, and even with something as simple as her fingernails, which don't impede her running at all, which have
I
nothing to
know.
do with
And she
aerodynamics.
redesigned her running outfit, remember?
Running, right, because she had the one leg out. So
Yes.
so and which also has nothing to do with aerodynamics, but it's just something they don't want you to stand out. They don't want you to be different. They don't want you to be exceptional. It seems when you're a black person and specifically a black female.
Well, that bringing some style to a very boring, so
Right,
to boring attire, that's what we do. And
right.
that's a part of the very nature of who we are.
Our
Um,
flair, yes.
there's always going to be some flair. But the
Mhm.
bottom line is I can add some flair, but I also got skills.
Right. Boom. Look at her.
Okay.
Look at her go.
Thank you. I'm amazing.
and
Amazing.
and she's doing it without exerting extra effort. Look at her. That's ah,
Natural flow.
just natural flow. Just a bunch of people running super fast, and then you have this one person running even faster than that, and they don't
That is
understand.
amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And it seems that with each Olympics that we have, there's someone that comes along who is outdoing everyone that's preceded them.
Yes.
And so it,
I know. It takes your breath away just to have to talk about it. And you sit back and you think, are we really in the 21st century?
right,
Or is there some kind of a time warp where people are just stuck and they're
stuck in a loop,
determined to stay there,
stuck in a loop.
and they
Yes,
don't want to be um, advancing or moving forward or more inclusive. And so, we look at, if you go into every single area where you have Black female athletes, you're going to find one at least that the media is chewing up, dissecting, taking apart, and usually it's the one that's at the top.
right.
And they're looking for, instead of giving them congratulations and being happy that they are succeeding, they're looking for ways to tear them apart
Right.
and
Right.
to throw doubt on their abilities or their skills.
Mm-hmm. Mm-mm-mm. And then just the the way I think it's sometimes the way that they do it too, because again, like I said, with the young lady wrestling, with the young lady swimming, Simone Biles that we're watching right now, Shakari Richardson that we just watched a moment ago, the way they do things so effortlessly, and then uh, I think they try to apply some type of ego or attitude because the they know they're good. They know they're good, so they don't
Absolutely.
they they're not walking around with their heads down. And I think people think that they should be walking around with their heads down,
Yes.
or be even more humble than they are, because they're not boasting and bragging, but they're also not super humble to where they're like a
But
Michael
they're
Jackson.
confident.
Right. They're
They are
they're, they're not
confident.
shying away. Right.
They're confident. And Simone Biles didn't just show up overnight. She worked
She worked
extremely hard to get
as
to where she was.
as
She
they all did.
overcame a
Yeah.
lot of, uncertainties and
Hmm.
not looking like everybody else, because many times she was the only Black face on her
Right.
team. And, everybody's got a little ponytail going and their hair's all slicked down. She's got Black folks' hair. So,
Right.
that was a whole nother story.
Right.
And the media looks for those things to try to throw some kind of shade. And so she's a little Black girl trying to fit into a place where in many cases there was nobody else but her.
Mhm.
So who do you go to? Fortunately, she has a good family structure,
Right, right.
you
And
know,
and
and
and and,
so
and a great support system.
exactly. Were it
Mhm.
not for that, she probably would have had breakdowns long before now.
Way long.
Um, you know, and everybody's like, well, she quit on her team. No, she decided she wanted to be healthy.
There it
She
is.
also decided she might not be able to, you know, compete at a level that would not cause injury.
Right.
And that is the thing, you know, other gymnasts were talking about what it's like to get the twisties. You're in midair and all of a sudden you can't determine whether you're, you know, up or down, where the
Up or
ceiling or the
down.
floor is, and you're in
Mhm.
midair, mid spin.
Right.
That could be very dangerous.
And
And
life threatening.
so they're saying, you know, no matter what, do it anyway.
Right.
Push through it. Well, if you've
Right.
never done it, you don't know whether you push through it or not.
And and
And
and you don't know the consequences of pushing through it.
exactly.
It's like
Exactly.
I was watching something the other day on YouTube. I was watching I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Floyd Mayweather, the boxer.
Yes.
Now there was a commentator on ESPN or something like that who was talking to Floyd, and Floyd was like he would ask these ridiculous questions of Floyd, and Floyd said, "Have you ever boxed?" He's like, "No." Well, then, how can you ask me that? You've never done what I'm doing, but you consider yourself an
But you have
authority
an
on
opinion.
right, but and you consider yourself an authority on what I'm doing, never having done it,
And never having taken a punch.
never having taken not one, not even taken, but not even you haven't thrown one, you haven't taken one, but yet you consider yourself an authority on something you've never done, and that's
Exactly.
that's that's the same way that these ladies have been they've been subjected to that same thing. You have a lot of people judging them on stuff that they've never themselves done. A,
Exactly.
a lot of these guys who are on these committees and these organizations aren't athletes; they're executives. So they're probably sitting around with a bunch of pot bellies and third chins and you know judging these people based upon something they themselves have never done.
And they also have throwback attitudes and
Right,
perceptions,
right.
which is the key thing for me, because their mindset is one of sexism, racism, all the isms are in there.
All the
And
isms.
that is what they're making their judgments based
Hmm.
on. And you know, if you don't fix that, you know, they want to talk about keeping the politics out, but
Right.
the politics sit on the committee. And so if you don't deal with that, if you don't come up with ways of adding diversity, then the only voice in the room is one that has a skewed view of the people that they are making decisions for.
Hmm. And what do you call it? A it's the same as being outdated, but I can't remember the word right now. But it's an outdated view.
Old
Uh,
stogies.
well, that too, but it's it diminishes the world of athletics, in my opinion, because it keeps people who may have thought about participating from participating, thereby keeping us from seeing people who would have been incredible and made strides and
Absolutely.
broken through barriers and different
Mhm.
plateaus. We we'll probably never get to see most of those people because they're like, no, I'm not going to compete because I know how they're going to do it. And even with the persons that we're watching right now, just like we said, Simone Biles, she took herself out of the competition. Based upon all the things that she has to deal with, based upon medical things, physical things, emotional things, and mental things. Because we as layman people don't know what athletes have to deal with. Now, I used to run um, back in school, and I know that you have to. My thing was the relay.
Yes.
So I know that there is training that you have to do. You can't just walk on the track, get off the couch and walk on the track and think that you're gonna, you're gonna top this.
That you're going to
This
bring the gold home.
that's not how that works. There is a lot of preparation. There is a lot of mental preparation, physical preparation. You have to eat well. You have to sleep. And you have to not have all of the different stresses because stress plays a pivotal role in how your
Yes.
body functions. So,
Well,
given all,
you
given
know,
that,
we know that the world is still the world that we live in, where melanin draws more attention than anything.
right,
Um, and it focuses and well, it makes people focus on uh, what they would like to see and their perceived notions, and all of it has absolutely nothing to do with the quality of that young lady being able to compete in her sport. Yet
right,
she was penalized, and I think it was based on racial decisions.
right.
Um, we can talk about this until we're blue in the face, but until the dynamics change of the decision makers, we're going to be dealing with the same issues today that we have been dealing with over 400 years.
And
Um,
probably even longer than that. But and and
Absolutely.
and it's
Just
it's not
for this
it's
country.
not going to change. Yeah, it's not going to change greatly, I should say. It's not going to change greatly until people in certain positions change.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that comes back down to us, getting out and doing what we need to do at a local level, a city, county, state level. It's not just a national level. We got to work things on the city, the
From the
county, and
ground
the
up.
state. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, until we do that, things will remain the same. And in this
Well, keep listening to Perspectives with Eveylyn and Kevin. Every week, we're going to try to bring you something new and fresh, food for thought, things that make you want to think. You can find us on Facebook at Perspectives with Kevin and Dr. Eveylyn. And you can also find us on YouTube with Perspectives. We look forward to seeing you. We'll be on the air next week. So join us live, Facebook, Perspectives.
with
This is Dr.
Kevin
Eveylyn.
and this is Kevin. Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll see you next time, friends.
Absolutely. See you later. Bye bye.
All right.
May I thank you, my friends, Madam Chairman, platform guests, ladies and gentlemen, my beloved daughters. This is a very moving moment for me. This is not the time for me to speak. This is the time for me to sit in great humility, with my head bowed, my soul looking upward, with a gratitude to a God who has made it possible for one like me to stand before an audience like this, who've come to pay homage to simple and ordinary human being who came from the depth of ignorance and poverty to a platform of service, service to mankind, to give out sunshine and love and peace brotherhood among all men, regardless of their creed, their class, their color. I do want to thank you for all that you're contributing through your presence. Yeah. Your endorsement of the efforts that we've been putting forth during all the years to lift mankind nearer God and to bring them closer together, to rid them of hate and to fill them with love, to take away the spirit of segregation, discrimination, and bind us together as one in a great democracy made by a great God. I want to ask you to take the torch that was placed in our hands possibly 20 years ago and carry that torch higher and higher and higher until the spirit of brotherhood shall have enveloped the world and mankind everywhere will understand the change of heart and mind, the doing away with war, the doing away with the things that have tended to keep us apart, and building more solidly the bridge where we can walk over all types of difficulties and bring into action that brotherhood, that fellowship that the world needs today. Absolute honesty, absolute unselfishness, absolute love. There would be no need for guns and cannons, but mankind living each for the other will have imbibed that spirit of unity and fair play, and all the differences would fly away. If I have any last word, my daughters, to leave with you, I want you to keep your hand in God's hand. I want you to keep your feet on the ground. I want that you should see men going up, and with all the power you have, help to push them up. And I want, if you should see men down, in whatever area of life they may be, I want you, my daughters, to be big enough to reach down and pull them up and give to them that something that I cannot express in words, that spiritual something that will allow them to stand and be counted among the peoples of the world that are doing something.